A formula for crime-free society. Now, I don't think it needs a lot of pictures, but you can see some of the realities. You know, you can have control in your hand, but you cannot control the amount of crime that you can see. You can control some of the crime, some of the injustice that is possible to see, but there is still some that you cannot control and you will still see and will be affected by that. Things definitely are getting rougher and rougher around us, and times take place, times come where we wonder where else it can go, how bad it can go from here. And this is where, in a way, we need to have confidence in something greater than just our own lives. One chance in 4. All of us have one chance in 4 to be somehow involved in crime, to be a victim, whether it is a victim of a mugger, of burglar, or embezzler, or any other crime that can be done. We can be victim, or, you know, the list is long. There are crimes that are happening on the more mass scale, which involves politics, which involves societies, and we can see these kind of things. We can see hijackings, murders, terrorist kidnappings, and government corruption, and company corruption, and religious corruption. True? Let's not just pick on politicians. We can see religious corruption as well. So when we are looking at this, who's got the remedy? I've got a book, The Path to Peace, Finding Hope in a Troubled World. I think we can read that. Some of you have read that. Many of you have read that. Many of you have friends to whom you could give this book. Somebody who is asking the question, where is it going to go? What is going to happen? You can have this somewhere in your pocket and share with the people. Love beyond compare. Give your guilt away. Do you think many of crimes are inspired by guilt of people? Would there be many of them? Or lack of peace within? Or lack of self-image or value? You know, this is a book that addresses some of these questions, and you can find them in the foyer. You can grab as many as you want, or as many as of friends or enemies you have. You can share with both. No offense. This is good for both, for friends and for enemies. So we can have more friends. You can see things are growing worse, from bad to worse. Happy times. These two are not at somebody's wedding. There is problems within the families. There are problems where children are growing. Children are looking at things around them and they are growing skeptical. They are growing and wondering, you know, who can I imitate? Who can be my model? And when they look around, they are wondering who really is a good model. You know, I was talking actually during this week with young people, and they were talking about The young people actually were complaining about some people having the opinion that youth with a bad behavior grows out of homes. They see it at home. And that's what they take it. And that young person said, that's rubbish. There are many homes who don't see anything that one or another young person can get to. They didn't see it from parents, they didn't see it from grandparents, they didn't see it in their church. Yet they end up in situations that they can be ashamed of. That young person told me, people underestimate the influence of the environment in which they are growing. They go out of their own home. They don't see mom and dad. They see mom and dad working the time hard to support the family. They go out into friendships. And they get values from all these contacts. And then the family gets blamed for what the young one or another person does in life. We're growing, we have society that is growing and imitating or modeling their lives on various values. We've got children who are growing, and we are wondering who is to instill the values. That's a serious question, isn't it? Who should teach them values? I've got a teacher at home now, and that teacher tells me, you cannot tell them this, you cannot tell them that, you cannot tell them the other. I can assure you that we are still ahead of times where we will have more restrictions, where some things that we knew that are right, we will not be able to tell. So who will instill the values? Recently we have learned that there are pressures for changing of some realities. Who determines what's right, what's wrong? Is that a situation that determines what is right or wrong? At the moment, for example, in Canada, we've got a situation where a child will be able to enroll in school as a girl or as a boy, depending on his liking. And then teacher will not be able to tell him, advise him, he will have to make up his own mind. So who will tell him what's right, what's wrong, if the teacher will not be able to tell him what's right, what's wrong? The same may be happening to us. So that some of the decisions that society makes are actually snowballing and adding up to the problem rather than solving problems when we look at that. As Christians, we know, and we are accustomed to, something that we will not for long may be able to share. Proverbs 16:25 says, there is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death. Bible tells us that we need a standard that is beyond us, that is outside of us. That we cannot be ourselves the ones who are determining what is right, what is wrong. If we do, our views and our standards may be twisted one or another way. So where do we go? The Bible says that at the beginning the way may look good, but the ending of the way is leading to death or to basically perdition. Where do we go? what do we do? If we don't have external standards, if there is no authority that will tell us what's right, what's wrong, then all of us will be left in the situation where we will be doing whatever we like, doing our own thing. And if everyone does his own thing, what do we end up with? Anarchy, chaos. Do we hope in this situation for more peace, more order? Are we hoping for solving problem when we let everyone, or when we give right to anyone to do their own thing? Is this a good thing? Can we achieve freedom by removing the law? That's interesting. We cannot achieve freedom by removing the law. The Bible in Hosea says, Hosea 8:7, they sow the wind and reap the whirlwind. Both are winds. What's the difference? It's nice to have a nice fresh breeze of air, isn't it? But because of wind, I was not sleeping till 3:30 this morning. And I'm lucky that I got some sleep, because probably in South Australia, some people didn't get that because they didn't have roof over their heads. So if we are sowing, if we are planting wind, we need to consider what will be the outcomes. This is what Scripture says. If we sow the wind, then we should not be surprising from the consequences that we reap. That when we get storm, when we get cyclone, when we get whirlwind of things that we did not desire. That's the situation in our lives. We have no freedom if we will remove the standard. Roland Huckstead, former Liberty magazine, wrote 20 centuries ago, Apostle Paul wrote a crime report directed to the Christian church in Rome, a city where dissipation, crime and moral rot were foreshadowing decline of the empire. The apostle laid it online. He told them, this is what you are doing. This is where you are going. You are going into crisis. And he says in Romans chapter 1, verse 28, thus, because they have not seen fit to acknowledge God, he has given them up to their own depraved reasons. This leads them to break all rules of conduct. Can we see the problem? It will not stop. We sow the wind and we will reap the whirlwind. That, the removal of some of the laws will not solve the problem. The formula for the solving of the crime was given by God at the beginning, where certain standards were set in place. And if they were followed faithfully from the beginning, crime would never exist. We would not have any problem. Everyone would be safe, everyone would be happy, whether it is humans or animals, they would be happy. That's the situation. And that rules, or that formula was given later on in writing, where in Exodus 20, verse 2, God said to Moses, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of the bondage. When children of Israel camped at Mount Sinai, the Lord came and introduced himself as the one who cares for them. And based on that fact that he cares for them, based on the fact that he is looking or he is interested in their future, he is giving them some counsels to actually benefit them, and he can be trusted because he is interested in their good. You can trust me. In other words, God said to Moses, and then he gave the formula for crime-free society. We can read it. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall have no other gods before me. Is there a benefit? What's the benefit? The benefit that there is no confusion. The one who is the author of everything puts the law in everything. You shall not make yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven, above, or on earth, beneath, or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord, your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the parents to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing love to the 1000th generation of those who love me and keep my commandments. Long law, isn't it? Long commandment. But it's interesting, it is showing that there are some connections. When people will start making some image of God, eventually they will stop worshiping God and begin to worship the image. And when you look around the world, how many worships around the world are involving worship of image rather than worship of God? True? The principle is proved. And then the mercy of God that is encapsulated in the commandment, where he says that he is a jealous God, punishing children for the sins of parents to the third and fourth generation. And we are looking at that. What an unjust God, because he is punishing the children for the sins of parents. You see the mercy? Can you see the mercy? It is only to the third and fourth generation. And blessing to the 1000th generation. Is he a God who will keep his anger forever? You know what? And based on that statement here, I can see the child of the parent who was involved in transgression, whatever the transgression was. I can see that child already benefiting from the grace of God. Why? Because he is a rewarder of those who love him and keep his commandments. Would he resist to reward that son of the parent who was transgressor? No way, I can't imagine that. Then we can go to the next one. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not hold anyone guiltless who misuses his name. You don't need to punch anyone in with your fist to show him disrespect. You can misuse his name. Does it happen? It happens in relationships between humans. And that's the reason. This is the core. This is the foundation. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord. Why? Because you learn, you will start to get used to it, and you will start to show your disrespect first by your words, first by your sarcasm, and then outright by your actions. You sow the wind, and you reap the whirlwind. That's where it starts. First, a little cheeky comment about the Lord. And then every second word is his name in the wrong context. This is a formula. Then we go to the next one. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son or your daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your animals, nor your foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and earth and the sea, and that is in it, but rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Quiet reminder. For God knew that there will be pressures. For God knew that his opposition would be making utmost efforts to mar the picture of God. And in this commandment, you've got a character encapsulated, an authority encapsulated. And then, in this commandment, you can see that God doesn't make any difference. He doesn't say, this is the commandment to you and not to your daughter. What was God's view of women in the society? Equal. Your son and your daughter, your male or female servant, your even animals were getting the Sabbath for free. So they could know that they have a creator. How many animals today are abused when they're lucky to be alive? Because some of them are not so lucky. For you would know, by doing that, you would know who created. There would not be, and there would be an authority that would not be questioned. And then we go on to the next one. Honor your father and your mother, so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you. This is not something about geriatrics. Actually, this is a commandment, this is a rule, this is a formula, this is part of the formula that is guaranteeing you, this is a promise. Honor your father and your mother, so that you may live long in the land of the Lord your God, who is giving it to you. The benefit is to you if you honor your father and mother. To you, whoever the child is. And I'm speaking to all children. To you, the length of life depends on how do you honor your father and mother. To you, that father and mother is a picture, living picture of the authority of God. You have no idea about somebody beyond the clouds at this stage. But mom and dad are the highest authority, and you need to respect. And that is the foundation for your good, happy, fulfilling life, if you keep it. That is the foundation for peace in the society, respect. And let me put it this way. This commandment is guarding respect to authority at any level in the society. For if you respect your mother and father and mother, you will respect your traffic controller, your police, your judge, your government. This is what Christianity is teaching. Yes, they have responsibility. They have also privileges. You shall not murder. No excuses. You shall not commit adultery in any form. You cannot just do your own thing because you feel like. We said what would be the outcome. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor, not even if you will lose your court case. Would it be a happy society? How many lawyers would we need? Less. True? How much money will we have? More. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, nor your male or female servant, his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. Is it a good commandment? Man, some of this competition that happens between neighbors, I think if they were keeping this commandment in view, it will be less. So when we are thinking, when we are looking at these commandments, after God has written these commandments, or after God has written that formula, he gave it to Moses, and he wrote it on the tablet stones with his own finger, for he knew that they need to have it for quite a while. And he knew that people are forgetful, humans are forgetful, and they will need to be reminded quite a number of times before the time will finish. In Exodus chapter 31, verse 18 says, "And when he had made an end to speaking with him on the Mount Sinai, he gave Moses 2 tablets of the testimony, tablet of stone, written with the finger of God." This is the most important text communicated to human beings where it was written with his own finger. The rest of this was by scribes, by secretaries. But this one, and the other one was when Jesus was writing on the sand. This time he was writing law. The second time Jesus was writing sins. That's why they were on the sand, because he knows that he remembers only to 4th generation and for 1000th. So that's why he wrote it in the sand, so wind could take it away soon. That's how it is. So when we look at this, the formula for crime-free society existed right from the beginning, and we can have it here today. It was not from the time when on the way from Egypt, in Canaan, on Mount Sinai, Jesus gave it to Moses. That's when it was written on the tablets of stone. It's only because people had better memory before For that reason, it didn't have to be written on the stone. And since memory is failing people, God decided to write it on the stone. They were able to rehearse their own family tree for generations. We are not that able because we are relying on memory. And then it burns. And we have no memory, no pictures. It wasn't like that. For 900 years they could recall every picture, every experience. And God knew that what He is giving them is good. And that's why in Psalms we read this text, "Bless the Lord, you His angels, you who excel in strength, who do His word." It was that formula was not good just only for humans. That formula was good also for angels. And they were taking pride, many of them were taking pride in sticking to it. And the point came where some of them were upset. But when we are going to the experience of Adam and Eve, when they transgressed, when they broke the law, it's interesting. The reaction is an evidence of existence of the law. If there was no law that would be given to them, there would be no negative reaction from them. But the fact that they reacted with guilt shows that they were aware. When you are looking at further experiences of people, you've got Cain and Abel, who are also reacting. And somehow, Cain knows that he is doing the wrong thing. Maybe the law was given. In Genesis 4, verse 6 and 7, we read, "Why are you angry?" The question is coming from God. "And why has your countenance fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin lies at the door." Where there is no law, there is no transgression, the book of Romans says. So obviously, Cain knew that there was something wrong. Guilt was already pesting him. He knew the law. For if there was no awareness, he would not be able to react to it. He would not react to it. And we know the dictionary says transgression is the breaking or violation of any law. So you can be told by your parent, that cake is for the afternoon, you will not eat it. And then you see the finger in the cream. I didn't do it. The guilt is there. Evidence is there. Child was aware. Transgression was committed. So when he gave to the commandments, when he gave the formula, he was expecting that formula to happen. And Abraham was the one who was obeying the formula. He was getting the benefits of it. Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandment, and my statutes and my laws. And that's why he was the father of the faithful ones. Why? Because he was faithful. He was the one who is the spiritual father of all spiritually faithful. And so this is maybe an indication for us. For God is not the author of confusion. Let all things be done decently and in order. If we would drop any principles, and we would tell everyone, do whatever you like, do your own thing, as we said, we would have confusion, we would have chaos, we would have anarchy. In the Supreme Court, there are many laws. That's how the countries are governing themselves. For how long? Which way? We don't know. For not the hearers of the law are just in the sight of God, but the doers of the law will be justified. You know, it's not just good to have the law, one needs to act upon it. If you love me, keep my commandments, Jesus says, and for he knows that it is the doers of the law actually that are benefited. God knows that out of love should come obedience. God knows that our love is demonstrated by how we are obeying him. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and the great commandment. And the second one is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. You know, people are pointing sometimes to the fact that people have devised a lot of laws, especially when we are thinking of Jews, that during the Old Testament times, Jews have devised, I think it was over 600 laws that were making their lives so difficult. Here we have, it's estimated about 36 million human laws outside of the Ten Commandments. Do you think it would be a bit of a chaos? Every law is an opportunity to avoid it. So that when something is determined, there will be ways about to go around it. So when the more laws we have, okay, the more we define principles and the less safe we are. If we have laws, few laws, but they are kept. So when we are looking at the law or the obedience to the law should be coming out of love to the one who gave it. Law is only the transcript of God's character, of God's nature. And God says he is the Lord and he does not change. Therefore, if he doesn't change, what will not change? His commandments will not change. He knows what he has given. He knows what he was intending for this humanity. And he knows where he is leading them. He also knows that they are just dust. So he provided a safety valve which took place on the cross, where he paid the price for all the transgressors. Can we see the love of God there? Today, Jesus is inviting you and me. Do we want more freedom, or do we want more peace? Freedom will not take place by throwing away of all the laws. Obeying the laws will give us more freedom. May God bless each one of you as we are listening to God and listening to his word, and as we are obeying his law. This is my prayer and this is my desire to each one of you. Amen.